Alright guys, so today I want to show you guys how you guys can get started trading perps or funded accounts with NQ or ES. And perps are basically cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Hype, Sol, like Solana, Ethereum, or whatever it may be. And then you also have NQ, which is the Nasdaq 100, which is like the 100 biggest tech stocks. And then you also have ES, which is the S&P 500, which is the 500 biggest companies in the US. And so I'm gonna help you guys today learn how to really get started with it all. And we're gonna be starting from scratch, obviously. So I'm assuming that you guys have never even like traded before or never really even heard of trading. So I'm assuming this is like your first entry video into trading. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show you guys what steps you need to take just to get started. Next video we'll talk about strategy. We'll talk about what I personally use in my trading that allowed me to get profitable. But yeah, a little introduction to myself is I've been trading since I was um, like 15, 14. I started back in 2020, and yeah, so I started back in 2020, and I've been trading ever since. But I spent the first 3 years of my trading meme coins, and I only really switched to perps back in like 2023 ish, and then I switched to trading NQ and alongside with perp trading at around like a year ago. And it took me a solid year or so to get profitable on perps because I was so used to trading like meme coins and things like that. But I really just don't recommend you guys get started with meme coins. I think it's kind of a waste of time right now. I think they're dead personally. Obviously, there's a few good plays here and there on meme coins, but for the most part, they're just not worth the time, the effort, the money. But with perps, it's a real skill. With NQ, it's a real skill that you can learn. Whereas with meme coins, it's you're trading narratives, you're trading hype, you're trading things like that that don't really correlate too much with skill. Um, but with perpetuals and with NQ and ES, you actually need to know what to see in the market. Like I'm sure that for now, like right now, you guys are looking at this and like what the hell am I looking at? Like what is all this? And yeah, it's definitely confusing for first timers. Like I'm actually helping some of my friends learn how to trade, and they were telling me how like confusing it was for them when they first started. But I mean, they're doing great now. Like they got the ball rolling. They're trading paper accounts, which I'll show you guys in a bit, and they're doing great. But yeah, so what we're gonna do here is I'm gonna show you guys how to get this software specifically, how to get onto TradingView. I'm gonna put a link to this software in the description, and you guys can use the link in the description to get free access. So basically, all you need to do is you need to come to Google. You're gonna search up TradingView just like that, TradingView, and there'll be the first link that pops up, and then you can just click on it, and you guys can get started for free. So it's super simple. All you do is you get started. They'll do a little tutorial for you guys, and then once you're done with the tutorial, you'll see pretty much what I see right here, just something like this. It'll be pretty similar to this. The reason why my chart colors are different is because I changed my settings. I think it looks cooler this way. But yeah, you guys can do that too. All you guys do is symbol. You click the body, whatever color you want, the borders, the wicks. But yeah. This is how you would get started. Once you have this charting platform, you can start slapping on indicators that you guys think are useful. Next video, I'll show you guys kind of what indicators I use. I don't really use too many. I think they're for the most part like not really worth like the time. Like they're not really worth it because if you can't really see what you're trading, then like what's the point of trading it? So this is actually probably the most important indicator that I have. ICT kill zones are basically it shows you when each session is like what times in each session will be the most powerful in the market. When the market will usually see its biggest moves is during these kill zones. So you guys can see like we were kind of just bouncing around, like around here. We are kind of just bouncing around like here, this price range, for the most part all day, right? But then the New York AM session opened up right at 9:30 a.m. New York time, and you can see we immediately had this crazy move downward. And so yeah, and these kill zones kind of show you where the market will probably have a big move. And they also can help show you, your draws and liquidity, where price might return to later on, things like that. All this we'll get into later, obviously. But yeah, so you have these three main sessions, I mean, New York, Asia, and London. I personally recommend you trade New York session just because it's a better for like time zones and stuff like that. But I do trade like sometimes like London session, Asia session. But I mean it's kind of a rare case. I usually just kind of stick to New York session because my model really revolves around the 10 a.m. open for New York time. We'll get into all of that later on, but yeah, for the most part, this is just the main charting platform you need. And what you want to do once you get started with with TradingView is you want to do something called connect with your broker, trade with your broker. In the top right corner, you'll see something called trade. Okay, and what you do is you go here. Log out real quick. You click the trade button on the top right corner. There's like a camera icon, and there's publish, and then in between those two is the trade with the broker. You'll see this kind of menu right here. You click paper trading, connect to paper trading. You'll create your paper trading account, whatever. Set your account balance. This one right here. Make sure it's $100,000. Okay. This is super important for beginners because right now you're learning the fundamentals of trading. You're learning how to trade. And so what you're gonna do is you're gonna set your account balance to $100,000, and then you guys can use the model I'm gonna be teaching you guys. You guys can use whoever model, P Blake or whatever, like ICT's model. I trade ICT, but you have like order flow. You have all these models that you can trade. I like my model personally because it's what makes sense for me. But yeah, trading is always going to be what matters with trading is always going to be what makes sense to you. So if my model doesn't make sense to you, don't trade it. If my model does make sense to you, great, go for it. I'm gonna be teaching you guys for free. Like I think people who sell courses are kind of scammers and get the same information on YouTube for free. I don't think I'll ever sell a course. I'm not gonna sell a course because I think it's stupid. But yeah, so set your account balance to $100,000, and then just basically all you need to do is just trade every single day. You click the trade button, you trade whatever model you do. You set your TP to whatever, and then you set your stop loss to whatever. What I recommend for you guys, for new traders, is do a 1% risk per trade. So 1% of $100,000 is obviously $1,000. So what you need to do is set to whatever size quantity you want, and that make your stop loss right here, make it equal to about $1,000. Okay. And that way it will help you pass the account a little bit faster because your take profit is a bit bigger. But yeah, I recommend you for the most part when you're just starting, just risk 1% per trade. So risk $1,000 every single trade. And so if your stop loss, for example, if you're trying to take shorts up here, and you want to keep your stop loss, basically also guys, if you guys don't know what shorts are, it's basically putting money that the market is going to go down. That's all it is. It's like the opposite of longs, which longs is you're putting money that the market is going to go up. But yeah, so like let's say for example you want to take shorts starting up here. And you want your stop loss to be above this order block right here, above New York AM highs. So what you want to do here is, you want to say TP right there. What you can do here also is a super cool feature. You can do click create limit order right here. All you do is left click on the like on your guys' like trading thing, like on like the position. Left click, and then you click create limit order, and then it'll literally like perfectly match it up. And so what you can do is raise your risk until this stop loss is equal to $1,000, and then you can see your take profit is $2,000. So at this rate, it will only take you about 50 trades in a row to make it to $100,000 in profit, $100,000 in profit. But obviously, you're not going to win 50 trades in a row, especially when you're just getting started. You're probably going to lose a bunch and then start making money. But you might even blow the entire account of $100,000, and then you have to reset the account. And I know that I had to do that when I was first getting started, and it's okay. That's just part of trading is losing. And so if you're training your brain to be able to lose early on without struggling and without like going to despair, then you'll be way better off getting started then than someone who just hopped right into a funded account and was actually risking money every time they took a trade. But yeah, honestly, I really just recommend that you guys just hop on the charts. I know that like it's kind of scary seeing all this stuff and like things like that, but really just hop on the charts and just get started. Start charting, start seeing if things make sense. Start watching a bunch of videos, like for example mine or whoever you maybe like. Really just post to it, like really whoever honestly is you think would be a good trader. But just be aware that like 99% of YouTubers who post about this stuff are kind of scammers. That's why I would never sell courses, because like I think people who sell courses are just people who aren't really profitable. Because if you're profitable, like why would you need to make more money like from your viewers? Like I think if I have the knowledge to trade, then I would want to teach people who follow me for free. Because like if they support me, I should support them back. But yeah, honestly, just all you gotta do is get started. And so once you guys can double your guys' account balances on paper trading, that is when I can say confidently that you are profitable. That is when you can be like, yeah, I know how to trade, I know what I'm doing. Let me hop on the market with real money and start trading for real. And so what you guys can do is you guys can go with a funded account, or if you guys actually have a good amount of money they want to risk, then you guys can start risking real money. But I personally recommend you get started with a funded account because you're not really risking a whole lot. You're risking like at most a couple $100 every time, and that will really just kind of get you in the flow with risking actual money, getting actual rewards if you're right. And yeah, so for just really all you gotta do is hop on TradingView, start charting, start watching a bunch of YouTube videos. I'll put the link in the description to the TradingView software that I use. You guys can get started for free, obviously. And then that's for trading. That's for charting. When it comes to trading, with NQ, you can actually trade directly on TradingView. Once you buy funded accounts, you guys can connect a real broker. Like I use Tradeovate. But you can get a real broker and catch your funding accounts to them. When it comes to perps, like Bitcoin, for example, it's a little bit different. You need to use entirely different software. You can't really trade perps on TradingView. You have to use something like TradeBlocker, which is similar to TradingView. It's just their charting is way worse. And you just kind of connect your whatever fund account you want to use for perps. You guys can use fund accounts. I don't really recommend it because even with like $1,000 account, you can make good money on perps. Because let's say you're risking $50 per trade on perps, like on Bitcoin. Like if your stop loss was, for example, here, let's say we're taking longs right here. If your take profit is up here or whatever, and you want your stop loss to be $50, right? You want to risk $50 out of your $1,000 portfolio. Then all you need to do is let's just reduce the risk towards 0.01. Yeah, that's about right. You can still make $90 per trade pretty easily with a 1 to 2 RR trade. And with the model I use actually, it'll be closer to like something like 1 to 6 or 1 to 5 even. And so if you raise this risk to like that, you're making $300 in just a single trade. Because your risk reward is so high. For every $5.8 you win, you're only risking $1, right? So for every $5.80 you win right here, so you're only losing $1 if you hit stop loss, right? And that's just my model. Not every model is like mine. I was blessed enough to have the knowledge to know how to trade with a high risk reward and a high win rate. So I can consistently win this type of RR every trade about 7 to 8 times out of every 10. So I have about 80% win rate on this model right now. And so out of every 10 trades I win, I only lose 2R, or in this case I only lose $100 out of the 3,000 that I made. So that's just the model I trade. Obviously, you have people who trade 1 to 1 RR, but their win rate is like 90%. And at that point, it's just whatever fits your model. I personally like high RR trades because you can make one good trade in a week and then be done for the week. That's the model I usually kind of like taking. Is I do 1 trade a day max. I don't really like to make trades in a single week because I think then you're kind of then you're more likely to tilt. Then you're more likely to get sort of lost in the trading and not really be focused on your setup so much. So I very much advocate for taking 1 trade a day, 3 trades a week, even 1 trade a week, even sometimes. Like I really don't think that you need to be trading too much, because then you're more likely to just give all your profits back to the market, because that's what will happen is the market will hunt you down for your profits. All right, so right here is actually the software I use for trading on perps. So this is called Lighter. This software is called Lighter. You have all these different coins right here that you can trade. Literally hundreds and hundreds of options, right? I usually trade Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, things like that on this software. I don't really mess too much with like PopCat or Jupiter. Hyperliquid was actually a really good play recently. but like you have like all these sort of coins that you can trade up here. And yeah, so you have, this is like you can buy, you can sell. With this though, it's all live account money. This is all your money. You can't really connect you can't really connect a funded account to this software. But you can trade with leverage, for example. So you can trade with up to 50x leverage, meaning $1 is worth $50 when you trade with 50x leverage. But yeah, so it really sort of depends on your trading style and your volume and all that stuff. But you can easily make a few $100s a week just by getting started. But obviously you want to take your time with trading. You want to really you want to allow yourself to build the confidence with paper trading and build the skill first before you start risking real money. But yeah, I'll put a link to put in the description for both of the softwares that I use for trading. But I really recommend that you guys just get started. Start now, and you really can't. You won't lose anything. You're not losing anything just by trying it out. Worst case scenario, you waste a few hours of your time, but you're doing that on your phone anyways. So might as well just use that time that you're wasting on your phone and learn how to trade, which can potentially set you financially free in a few years. But yeah, if you guys have any questions, if you guys want to see anything, if I miss anything in this video, just put it in the comments. I'll read all of them, obviously, and just let me know what you guys want to see. Next video, I'll sort of be talking about like what strategy I use, and how I use it, what I look for in the day-to-day basis on perps and on NQ. And yeah, so let me know if you guys have any questions, and yeah, I'll see you next time.